Alright, what's going on, guys? So today I'm going to be putting up some batten walls for this accent wall back here. We have to take the TV down eventually, but what we did so far is mask out the sections that we want. Then each of these tape here is where the studs are, with the stud finder. I found it, and this is kind of like the middle. But what we're thinking is making a little shelf, like a little lip, similar to what we have up in the front door up here, right? Like this little lip up here, like that little piece there. And basically goes across this whole wall here. So this whole wall is 20 feet about from this all the way down there. Don't know the spacing of where each of the vertical pieces are. We got the wood that we picked up from Home Depot with pine. You could have used any other wood, but some of the other ones looked like it was not as straight and it was just like messed up, so I decided just to go with that to make it simple. So yeah, down the trim here, we're trying to debate if we want to paint it or not, but most likely we'll just paint it whatever color. And we got some color choices on that side. I was still kind of figuring out, but like a stone color-ish, and gray, lighter on the side. I mean, the wall is gray too, but it's a different color. So all right, so we started adding compound to the wall. That's what it looks like. Tape this off here. Only first coat. Probably do a second coat to make sure we get all this filler. Leaving this top blank because we're gonna put like a little board on top. I'm gonna sand it down to make it straight and get rid of this texture here, so the background. Alright, so this is what it looks like so far. We have the top shelf in place. Ran into some issues with a couple of the nails. These are the studs I marked, but when we went into it, like the wood was warped, or the wall was warped, so it wouldn't go in all the way. There was like a huge gap like on this side over here. Look how many nails I ended up having to use to hold this in place. This gap was like that. And what I did was I had them on angles so that it wouldn't come off straight. Same thing with the top. It was warped, so I had to use a couple of the nails here to hold this. And it's still a little gappy, but that's the best we can do. Then we got over here, which is I think the worst gap that we have. And this is just on the wall side. And I don't want to push it all the way in and try to nail this in place, just because then this is going to be warpy, and then that means I would have to compensate down there, and also the top will be kind of warpy. So I'm going to keep it straight like this, and we'll just fill it in and just make it seamless across. We had it right under the TV's bracket here. We made sure the top piece shelf fits exactly right under here, so it clears it and it goes across here and then down to the end. But we'll have to cut the piece down there as well. Alright, and here is the rest of the shelf on top across. We got some more wall warpage I'm gonna have to fill in. Then we have a test piece here that I haven't glued or nailed in yet, so I'm trying to figure out if I want to glue. Most likely I have to glue just because I'm not hitting any studs, but the corner should be fine because I can just shoot the nails onto the side there and it'll hit a stud. But I'm not sure about the other pieces. It'll be close to a stud, I think, but we'll see. We'll see if we have to use glue or not. I want to not use glue. All right, then every piece here, I'm measuring them manually just because it might vary. And then I'm using a miter saw. You can use a table saw too to cut every piece. And then I'm using this nail gun here to put the nails in. The nail is 1 1/4 of an inch nail that I'm using for these pieces here. But pretty much mark it, cut it, and then go in there, test fit it before gluing it in. I ended up actually gluing the pieces to there just because I'm not hitting any studs for any of the pieces, so it's just to make sure that they stay in place. Alright, so we got the first two boards up, looking good. We got plenty more to go. That's a total of 14 boards. That's gonna go across here. We're gonna have to pick up some more wood at Home Depot, but so far looking good. We're having some minor fitment issues down here where we'll probably end up having to sand the edge or something like that, just kind of get it flush with the existing trim. So I try to keep this as flush as possible. That one we'll have to kind of sand down as best as possible. So a few things I'm noticing while I'm doing this is one, just cut out some templates in terms of the spacing. So once you kind of figure out the spacing that you want, in my case I had 15 here. Cut the pieces out. You can have this, so that way your next one you don't have to really measure. You just have it there. Same thing, you got two pieces. Put it on top here like this, and then the top piece is a snug fit, but it fits in there like that. And you have basically your 90s all in place, so when you put these boards in, you don't have to worry about measuring and making sure it's straight. And then for down here, if you have an existing wall that has caulking, this caulk here kind of has like a little like bump to it, and it'll kind of throw your measurement off, or like this won't be flush. So what I'm doing is cutting some of the caulk out in the existing hole. So put the template in like this, and then take like this is a scrap piece that's the same size as that. Put it here, you know, score this area here, and start removing the caulk in this area here, and just cleaning this up so that you can have a nice clean like right angle, so that when you put, you know, these pieces in, it goes against the wall versus like sticking out, you know, a lot more. Good so far. About halfway through, I had to make a small cut, but the next piece there, I don't have a jigsaw, so I'm gonna have to pick up a jigsaw, but it's gonna be kind of like a cut that looks like this, like a C cut, a reverse C cut that we need to begin to get that wood piece in there. So I have to do that, and we have to pick up some more wood pieces. All the boards are in place. We filled in all the nails, and then everything is sand down as well. So the last thing I need to do is just kind of wipe down the drywall to make sure it's really clean, because it's been sanded and there's like a bunch of powder dust still on there. But other than that, we're going to caulk the corners here before we paint. So we're going to probably paint tomorrow, but we'll just kind of fill in all the gaps, top as well, and prep it for tomorrow. We have everything caulked and ready for painting. I did the last coat of the caulking on this here because we ran out on one of the tubes and I ended up having to buy a second tube. Rounded off the edge here as best as I could, so it just doesn't have like a straight, you know, wood cut to it. As you can see, it's kind of rounded off, so it looks like it kind of flows-ish with it. I did my best there, but I caulked all this here. I didn't do this because it was already caulked from the existing trim, along here, along there, and along the top as well, all the way down. So that's 20 feet. So I would say it's definitely a weekend project-ish, because a lot of it, to be honest, was to let it dry, you know, reapply a lot of this stuff, like sand it down, and prepping. Prepping took the most, like putting up and cutting, you know, these wood here wasn't too bad. It was probably like maybe a couple hours worth, but again, it was on and off just because I had to do other stuff in between. But I would say you can definitely do this on a weekend if this is the only thing that you were working on and you had all the materials, because I had to run out to Home Depot like 3 or 4 times just to get all the pieces, because you know, some stores didn't have the wood, had to go to a different store, running out of like, you know, supplies and whatnot. So yeah, I would say like it's a weekend project, pretty simple with basic tools. But if you don't have any of the tools, obviously you can get Home Depot to cut it, but you know, cutting these vertical boards is probably, if you had miter saw or a saw table on hand, you can measure and cut. It's way better because your measurement's going to be, you know, off slightly. You know, I would say like doing this would probably cost a lot if you didn't have some of the tools that are required, because you know, either you have to rent it or buy the tools, and that adds up a lot. The materials itself wasn't too bad. I would say the wood itself is probably like maybe like 60-70 bucks worth of wood. But yeah, so I'm gonna let this dry. It takes about 30 minutes to dry, but I'll give it a couple hours, and then we'll go ahead and start painting. The most challenging part of this was, I would say, this right here, because I haven't used one of those multi-tools. That's why I used to cut the C shape. It like grabbed and like started kind of going off on the side. and cut some of this other area. So that's why I had some wood filler here to kind of fill up this wood here a little bit, and I'll probably just sand it down just a little bit more, just to make it smooth. But again, you won't see this because you know this stand here is gonna block all this, but you know it's decent. So we got 2 coats on the middle area here, 1 coat on top, 1 coat on the trim. So we need to do a 2nd coat from the top piece and the trim tomorrow once it kind of dries, and we'll kind of go through maybe any touch-ups or anything like that in between that may need it. Everything is looking really good right now, color-wise. All the way back here, look at that, very nice. And after we paint the colors, after it dries on the 2nd coat or maybe 3rd coat or whatever, we're going to remove the masking tape and put it on here and do touch-ups on the wall, just because it got kind of banged up during install, and we'll kind of do touch-ups on the whole wall on the original color up here so that it can look nice. I want to see if you guys notice anything here. Starting from here and here, decided to go to a different color. So this was the original color that we picked, and we went something a little bit lighter just because this color looked a lot more green with like at night. During the daytime was fine, and this is like, you know, during night right now, and it looks more grayish. Not quite the same as the wall, a little bit different, but yeah, you can kind of see this is like a caramel color, and then this is more of like a neutral color. So decided to go with this color. After painting 2 coats, went with this color, and this is the 1st coat. So I'm gonna finish the 1st coat of this, and then we'll do a 2nd coat, and hopefully we'll stick with this color here. Alright, so we have everything done, minus some minor touch-ups here. We need to let it dry for a day, but everything else, all done. So repaint it, push back the table and all that stuff. Look at that, we even painted the little covers here. Covers back here were painted as well, but you can't see it, it's just pushed back. But I think it's pretty nice. It turned out pretty nice to just have a random fireplace playing in the background there. But yeah, everything looks super neutral. It blends in with the house. I'm really happy the way it turned out. It's actually my first time doing something like this, like a project like this. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Leave in the comments below. If you guys aren't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe. Like always, tell us guys. Peace.